Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to lesson 22. Make sure you have your composition in front of you, a pen or a pencil, your interactive journal because you do need your anchor chart that we've been using all week long for poetry. So by now we should be getting really good at poetry. We should be able to identify. So let's go ahead and get started. So students will be able to write a summary about the pasture poem. Remember, we did this yesterday. Summary, we're using beginning, middle, and end. We're only putting important information. So what are we doing? Summarize the most important information using BME. Remember, BME is beginning, middle, and end. How are we doing that? Well, we have to know the who, what, when, where, why. We only write down most important information in order, and we're going to write it in our composition book. So the focusing question, we're still focusing on this question, is how do the characters in Love That Dog show characteristics of a great heart? So I know that who is being very kind and understanding towards Jack? Miss Stretchberry, right? Because he was being very negative at the beginning, not wanting to write poetry, said he tried it, gave up, and then eventually he started liking poetry to where he wrote his own poem. And yesterday we left off where he actually shared it with the class. Of course, he was anonymous, but he shared it. So that's a huge step. So Miss Stretchberry is being very, very understanding with Jack. So today we're going to notice and wonder about the pasture poem. So what elements of poetry can you identify? So I'm going to give you some thinking time for this. Your anchor chart should be in front of you. Elements of poetry, remember the line, the stanzas, the line break. Is there any repetition? And is there any rhyme scheme? Okay, so the pasture, and it was written, or the speaker is Robert Frost. So Robert Frost, we had already read a poem by him. Remember, what was the name of that poem by Robert Frost? So Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, right? Yes, so if you said that one, you are correct. So Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, the setting was in a forest, right? It was outside. He said he had promises to keep and miles to go before he sleeps. So we're going to see how the pasture, or what it is about. So let's go ahead and start. The Pasture by Robert Frost. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear. I may. I shan't be gone long. You come too. So this used to be a way that people used to write, I shouldn't be gone. So shouldn't is shan't. It's the same thing. It's just the way that they used to write English back then. Stanza 2. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long, you come too. Boys and girls, first of all, how many lines are in this poem? It's 8 lines. Okay. How many stanzas? That means little paragraphs. There is 2. Good job. How many line breaks? There's only 1, right? Okay. What about any rhyme scheme? Does spring and away rhyme? No. What about spring and May? No. What about to and spring? No. To away? No. To and May? No. So there is no rhyme scheme, right? Okay. What is this poem about? Where is the setting, boys and girls? Look what it says. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away. So he's talking about the leaves. We could infer the setting as where? Outside, right? And wait to watch the water clear. I may. I shouldn't be gone long. You come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf. So now he's talking about a little calf. So it's definitely out, maybe in a farm, outside. That's standing by the mother. It's too young. It totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shouldn't be gone long. You come too. Boys and girls, what 2 lines are being repeated? Number 4 and number 8. Good job. So the speaker or the poet is trying to emphasize or make a point of what? It shouldn't take them too long, right? And then he's asking the person, you come too. I shouldn't be gone long. You come too. And then he says it again. I shouldn't be gone long. You come too. So maybe he's asking someone to go with him, walk him outside. Maybe he has to do some chores. And he's asking the person, I shouldn't be gone long. You come too. So that's what he's trying to emphasize or make a point on. Now, he also uses sensory details. I want you to focus on stanza 2. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. So we could close your eyes. We can picture a little calf that's standing next to the mother. And look what it says. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. What does it mean by totters? So remember, it's a little cow and it's standing next to the mother. And then when the mother licks it, what is happening because the calf is so young? It's shaking, right? So she's almost when maybe you've had a dog that had puppies or a cat that has kittens, when the mother licks them, what does she do to them? Sometimes she flips them over, right? Because they're so small that they don't have a balance. So when she licks them, they almost flip around. But of course, a calf is a little bit bigger. It won't flip. It just kind of shakes. So it's shaking when she licks her tongue. When she licks it with her tongue, sorry. So the speaker, Robert Frost, is using what kind of language here? He's using sensory language, right? If you were to close your eyes, you can see he's in the pasture. That means he's outside. It's green grass. He's raking the leaves. He's telling somebody they shouldn't take long, and he's waiting for what? He's waiting for the water to clear, right? So maybe he's going to go get water from a stream to drink it. And then he goes out to get the little calf, and the calf is so small that it's standing next to the mom. And when the mom licks the calf, it shakes. And he's saying again, I shouldn't take long, you come too. So yes, it appears to our five senses. We can see the grass, we can see the water, hear the water, we can maybe taste the water because it's from a stream if it's drinkable. We can also hear the water. And how is he feeling? Well, he's feeling determined that it shouldn't take him too long. Okay, boys and girls, so I want you to take out your Friday making connections because today we're going to make some connections. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 45 seconds to go ahead and take out your daily comprehensions. Remember, we are in the Friday section. So you have 15 seconds. Remember, anything I write, you write. Last 10 seconds. And time. Okay, so personal experience, boys and girls. So when we make a connection, we are able to make a connection between either a text and to real life, to other texts or poems, and to the world around us, which is called society. So in the first one, boys and girls, I want you to write this sentence down. I can make a connection to a personal experience when blank. So using the book that we are reading, Love That Dog, about Jack not wanting to write poetry, and then writing about a blue car that is obviously very important to him, to then finally writing poetry, sharing it with the class. And then now we read a poem. We read two poems by Robert Frost. He writes about nature. So how can we make a personal connection, boys and girls? I can make a connection to a personal experience when maybe you're like Robert Frost. Maybe you have promises to keep and miles to go before you go to sleep. Maybe you promised your parents that you needed to get your homework done and get it uploaded to Teams. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 45 seconds to complete that sentence. How can you make a personal connection? Maybe you're like Jack, you hate poetry. But now that we're reading it and you're understanding it, maybe you're loving it more. Or maybe you're like the red wheelbarrow guy. Remember how Jack calls him? That so much depends upon a red wheelbarrow. Maybe so much depends upon school, learning, getting educated. And that poem was by William Williams. You have the last 15 seconds. So how can you make a connection? We just made tons of connections. Of course, you can write anything different. You don't have to use the examples that I'm giving you. I just need you to write it. All right, and time is up. Let's go to the next one, boys and girls. Ideas in other texts. So right now we're reading Love That Dog. We're also reading poetry. Love That Dog is reading in a poetry form and also a journal form. So how can you make a connection from other texts that you've read, like Thank You, Mr. Fokker, The Circulatory Story, to Love That Dog, or the poems that we've read, The Red Wheelbarrow, Stopping by the Woods, and we've also read The Tiger. How can you make a connection between all of them? So I know in Thank You, Mr. Fokker, and right now the book that we're reading, Love That Dog, they both have a teacher, right? And the teacher in both books are being very understanding with the students. So that could be one connection that you can make. I could make a connection to other poems because blank, or to other texts because both include a teacher, or you've maybe had a teacher that's been very helpful to you. So you have the last 30 seconds. So how can you make a connection? Are you making a connection from Love That Dog to Thank You, Mr. Fokker, Love That Dog to poetry? Jack does like to use other poetry, right, to copy. And that's okay because it's in his own words. He just uses kind of like the same rhythm, the same rhyme. If it's lyrical, he uses lyrical words. Last 5 seconds. And time. So let's go ahead and move on to the other one. Now, how can you make a connection to society, boys and girls? So society is a world that we live in today. So I can make a connection to the world around me because are you like Jack? Are you someone that is helpful? Maybe like a Miss Stretchberry who is very helpful and understanding, even though your mom and dad or maybe your sisters being maybe negative about you wanting to do something and they don't want to. How can you make a connection to real life? Or is it also that you love nature? Maybe like Mr. Robert Frost. Mr. Robert Frost loves to write or loved to write about nature and how he was outside and he was very, he described a lot of what was happening. So how can you make a connection to the real world? Are you going to be positive like Jack? Sorry, are you going to be positive like Miss Stretchberry? Are you going to be like Jack? Like Trisha? So you have the last 15 seconds to make a connection. 8 seconds. Okay, and time, boys and girls. So before we go to the live session, I do want you to have your composition in front of you. And I want you to write these 3 sentences. So don't forget your name, date, and goal. Remember, your goal right now is to go to 5th grade. We are going to have a BWA next week on Friday. So you will not have a recorded video, but I will talk more about it later. I want you to write in your composition book beginning, middle, and end. Remember, you can use BME. Who, what, when, where, why, or somebody wanted but so then. So right now you're going to summarize the pasture when we get to class. So what is happening in the pasture? What happened in the beginning? What happened in the middle? What happened in the end? What does the speaker want you to know? What was the theme? What was the message that he wants you to know? He's telling you that he shouldn't take long, right? Okay, I'm going to give you the last 10 seconds to copy these 3 sentences in your composition book. So what happened in the beginning? What happened in the middle, and then what happened in the end. Last 5 seconds. Alrighty, boys and girls, so I will see you in class. Make sure you're ready with your do now and your pen so that we can check it.